It's 2 a.m. Your newborn just woke up for the fourth time. And every article you've read says the same thing.
Don't sleep train before 4 months.
So what are you supposed to do until then? Just survive? Here's what those articles leave out. What you do in these first 12 weeks decides whether sleep training later takes 3 days or 3 weeks. So right now, let's look at 7 things that will actually help. 1. The reframe. If you're watching this with a baby asleep on your chest at an hour you can't quite believe, let me say this first. Nothing is wrong with your baby. It's very normal for a newborn to wake constantly. It's a sign their brain hasn't finished building the hardware for sleep yet. That's not a metaphor. It's biology. So why your baby's sleep looks like chaos right now, and when that actually changes. 2. Why newborn sleep is chaos. A newborn sleeps somewhere around 14 to 17 hours across a full day, which sounds like a lot until you realize it arrives in pieces of 1 to 2 hours at a time, day and night, with no regard for the clock. That's not random. Researchers actually tracked a newborn's body temperature, melatonin, and sleep every single day from birth to 6 months. Do you know what they found? The sleep rhythm is the very last internal clock to switch on. Temperature adjusts first, wakefulness adjusts next, sleep comes last. A broader review of the research on infant melatonin backs this up. Babies typically don't produce their own rhythmic melatonin, the hormone that signals it's night, time to wind down, until somewhere around 8 to 12 weeks of age. Before that, your baby is biologically running without a nightlight. On top of that, a newborn's sleep cycle itself is short, roughly 40 to 60 minutes, compared to about 90 minutes for you. And nearly half of that short cycle is spent in active sleep, the twitchy, grunty, eyelid fluttering kind that's easy to wake from. So when your baby startles awake 20 minutes after finally drifting off, that's not a fluke, and it's not a habit you've created. It's the actual architecture of a newborn brain. 3. Safe sleep, the non-negotiables. Quick note before we move on. I've got a full video dedicated to safe sleep rules from birth to age 5, so we won't cover the whole thing here. The fast version, per the AAP's 2022 guidance, back sleep every sleep on a firm flat surface with nothing else in that space. Room share without bed sharing for at least the first 6 months. And if you swaddle, keep it snug at the shoulders, loose at the hips, and stop the moment your baby starts trying to roll, usually 3 to 4 months. 4. Fixing day-night confusion. Now, the phase almost every newborn parent describes without knowing it has a name: day-night confusion. Your baby sleeps in long, deep stretches all afternoon and turns into a wide-awake owl at 11 p.m. This isn't a personality trait, and sure, you absolutely didn't cause it. The actual cause goes back to that melatonin timeline we mentioned a minute ago. Until it kicks in around week 8 to 12, your baby has no internal signal for which half of the day is which. What you can do starting from week 1 is hand them the cues their body can't generate on its own yet. So here is your game plan. During the day, open the curtains, feed them in a bright room, and do not tiptoe around normal household noise during naps. At night, keep light to a dim minimum, even during feeds and diaper changes. Keep your voice low, skip the chatting and playing. You're not forcing your baby onto a schedule. That's not possible yet. You're consistently labeling day as day and night as night, so their developing brain has something to latch on to once it's ready. Most babies sort this out somewhere between 6 and 10 weeks, right around when that melatonin rhythm switches on. If you feel like you're doing this for weeks with no visible change, that's normal too. The light exposure is banking progress you won't see until the rhythm itself matures. 5. The mix-up, hunger cues versus sleep cues. Here's the mix-up that makes so many evenings harder than they need to be: mistaking a tired baby for a hungry one, or mistaking an over-hungry baby for just a fussy one who needs settling. Hunger cues in these early weeks show up in stages. Early on, it's subtle. Rooting, hands going to the mouth, lip smacking. Miss that stage, and it escalates to squirming and fussing. And by the time your baby is crying, that's actually a late stage signal, which means feeding tends to go less smoothly because they're already worked up. Sleep cues look different, but they can be mistaken for the same fussiness. Rubbing the eyes, yawning, a glazed or unfocused stare, and in lighter skinned babies, sometimes a faint redness around the eyebrows. The two can genuinely look alike in a moment, which is why timing is your best clue. If it's been under an hour since the last feed and you're seeing those glazed, yawn-heavy signs, you're very likely looking at tired, not hungry. Responding at the early stage for either cue matters, because an overtired baby fights sleep harder, and an overhungry baby often feeds worse, not better. Neither problem improves by waiting it out. 6. Building a loose bedtime routine. This next part surprises people. You can start a bedtime routine long before you can sleep train, and the research actually supports starting early. One study following infants as young as 1 to 15 weeks old found that babies with even a simple bedtime routine were less likely to need to be held to fall asleep, slept in longer stretches, and had shorter night wakings than babies without one. Their parents were reported less sleep disruption, too. Short nightly routine also was found measurable improvements in how quickly babies fell asleep and how much they woke overnight. This doesn't need to be elaborate. Something like a wipe down or bath, a feed, dim lights, a swaddle, and some white noise, in the same order, taking 10 to 15 minutes, gives your baby's brain a repeated, predictable pattern to associate with sleep, even though at this age they'll still need your help falling asleep afterward. That's the whole point right now. Not independence, just predictability. And you don't need to wait for some ideal week to start. You can begin as early as your first couple of weeks home. Quick safety note on that white noise. Heartbeat and womb sound machines are popular right now. They're fine to use, but volume and placement matter more than which sound you pick. Keep it at or below 50 decibels, about as loud as a quiet conversation, and place the device several feet from the crib, never inside it or clipped to the rail. Many machines run louder than parents realize even on a low setting, so it's worth checking once with a free decibel app, and treat it as a tool to help your baby fall asleep, not something that needs to run all night at full volume. 7. Realistic timeline. So when does this actually get easier? Somewhere around 8 to 12 weeks that melatonin rhythm starts functioning and day-night confusion usually resolves. Around 3 to 4 months, sleep cycles start to lengthen and reorganize, which is exactly why this stretch can feel like a step backward, right before it becomes a step forward. And formal sleep training, the structured independent sleep methods you've probably seen discussed online, has its strongest evidence base starting around 5 to 6 months. Partly because that's when the biology is ready, and partly, honestly, because there's very little research on those methods in babies younger than that at all. So if you've been holding your baby to sleep, feeding to sleep, or contact napping through these first months, you haven't created a problem you'll need to fix later. You've just been doing exactly what a newborn brain needs to survive. Everything in these first 3 months, the swaddle, the light exposure, the routine, reading the right cue at the right moment, isn't about rushing your baby toward independence. It's about working with a nervous system that's still under construction, so that when you are ready for the next stage, you're not starting from zero. That's the difference between 3 days and 3 weeks. If you want all of this in one place, the day-night fix, the cue guide, and the safe sleep checklist, I've put together a free newborn sleep survival guide for you. You can grab that in the description below. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.